Wednesday, April 29th, and we are beginning our reading today with the shared reading. So you will need your red workbook, but not yet. So I'm going to ask you to not get it yet because I want you just to focus on the big book story. So our title today is Old Woman, Old Woman. So what do you think that might be about? Well, you hear the word old, you hear woman. So we know it's going to have a woman in it, but we do not know what this story is about, and we don't know whether it is fiction or nonfiction. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to the big book for you to take a look at the front cover, the front of the page. So here we see Old Woman, Old Woman. And we can see this is our big book. So this was our story last week. And we see up here an illustration and down here. So right away we know that this is not a real story, that it is fiction because the stories are not, the pictures are not real photos. They are just illustrations. What do you see on this page? You see a woman up in a balloon, hot air balloon, and down here the hillside looks like the world below her. So she is floating up in the air. So what do you think this might be about? The title doesn't really tell us much information, but we know that the woman is probably the main character. So before I begin reading, I'm going to let you know this is a poem and there might be some rhyming words. So be listening for those rhyming words as the narrator reads the story. Actually, I'll be reading the story. Unless I might be able to.
How many?
Nope, it's going to read the other one. So, old woman, old woman. There was an old woman tossed in a basket, 17 times as high as the moon. But where she was going, no person could tell, for under her arms she carried a broom. Old woman, old woman, old woman, said I, whither, oh whither so high? To sweep the cobwebs from the sky, and I'll be back down again by and by. So this is a very odd story, isn't it, boys and girls? You're probably wondering what this is really about. It is a fun little poem, and I'm going to ask you a question. How does the basket stay up in the air? So the first thing we're going to be thinking about is we have this basket. How does it stay up in the air? If you guessed the balloon, that is correct. This is a hot air balloon, and the woman is in a basket. That is how it is staying up in the air. Now, why is the old woman traveling in a hot air balloon with a broom? If you remember back in our poem, it says here in the very beginning, there was an old woman tossed in a basket, 17 times as high as the sky. So she was tossed in there. We don't know why. And it says that she has what in her hands? A broom. So she's doing something with that broom. When do you think the old woman will come down? Well, it says here that she sweeps the cobwebs from the sky. So it's like there's cobwebs up in the sky and she's cleaning them. Isn't that silly? She's using her broom to sweep the cobwebs away. So we can infer that she gets to come down once she has swept all of the cobwebs away. So that is what our story is about, that her job is to sweep the cobwebs away. Now we see some odd vocabulary here. We see the word whither, oh whither so high. So whither is just saying that she's kind of swishing the broom back and forth as she goes up into the sky. Now, our vowel this week, our letter is the long I. So we are going to go ahead on this big book, not in your shared reading. You don't need to worry about that yet. And I am going to just take my pencil and we're going to identify all of the long I or the I blank E patterns. So we're going to do that now after we've talked about it a little bit. So just going through, we see the word high right here. And this one is a long I. So I'm going to underline it. And then we're going to go through, see if we can find some other long I. Oh, here's I. And high again. Sky. By. Now, there is only one word that I can see. I'm going to get my highlighter here. There's only one word right here that I'm going to highlight. Now, why did I highlight that word? It's not a sight word. Times. Think about it. Think of what our long I pattern is. What have I been teaching you this week? The I pattern is I blank E. So if you guessed that's why, that is exactly correct. This high I, all of these are spelled differently with Y's and GH's, but this one is the only one that follows our pattern of the I blank E. And so that one I wanted to point out to you. All right, and if we go through this, thinking of any of the words that might rhyme. Are there any words that rhyme? We're going to circle any of the words that rhyme. We have, there was an old woman tossed in a basket, 17 times as high as the moon, but where she was going, no one could tell, for under her arm she carried a broom. Now, moon and broom do sound very similar, but they really don't rhyme because one ends with an N and one ends with a M. But if we look down here, we have high, sky, and by. So I'm going to circle these three just real quick because they all end with the I sound. All right, now we're going to be moving on to our actual shared reading workbook. So if you have not gotten it, go ahead and get it now. It will look like this, does not look like the big book. And turn to this page, page 16. And make sure you have a yellow crayon, your regular crayons, maybe a colored pencil, a pencil, and an eraser. And now I'm going to go ahead and let the narrator read the story to you. And then we'll go ahead and circle the end marks.
Old woman, old woman. Old woman, old woman, old woman, said I. Whither, oh whither so high? To sweep the cobwebs from the sky, and I'll be back down again by and by.
So we're going to take our pencils and go ahead and circle our punctuation. We have our comma, which means to pause. Over here is another one. Oops, I did that a little big. You can do it smaller. All these commas, lots of commas. Wow, in this first part. So we simply pause. Now, before we go on to the next page, you may notice these marks right here, and here. Let's circle them. If you remember what they are, you can say them out loud. They are quotation marks. And what does it mean when we see quotation marks? That somebody is talking. Someone is talking. And so we will change our voice maybe a little bit for that. And then we have a question mark, which means we are asking a question. Over here on this side, again, we have another set of quotation marks. So basically, the narrator or us, the reader, are speaking the whole time. So we don't really have to change our voice because our voice is just going to stay the same. We also have here a different kind of punctuation mark. Do you remember what that is when we have a period on top and then a comma down below? It is called a semicolon, and that is a super long pause. So we're going to pause a little bit longer. All right, and that is the end of our punctuation marks for right now. And then now we're going to go through and read the story together, and I want you to practice pausing at the commas, raising your voice for the question marks, and make sure when you get to here, we do a super long pause. All right, here we go. Old woman, old woman. Old woman, old woman, old woman, said I. Whither, oh whither, oh whither so high? To sweep the cobwebs from the sky. And I'll be back down again by and by. And I noticed something right here, friends. These little dash marks. Sometimes they do that when they're connecting two words together, when they want to stress the by and by, almost like they're connecting this as one phrase. So hopefully you paused at the commas because those are important as we're going through and reading. So we already had talked about the rhyming when we were in our big book, but I would like us now to go ahead and maybe underline those rhyming words. So we're going to take our pencil. If we go through and we see the word high again, I want you to underline high and underline by and sky and come back over here, I. So we have I, high, sky, by. So this is a little bit different than our big book. So those, all four of those rhyme. So we wanted to underline those to emphasize those today. Now the directions down here says to circle the words that begin with W. So now we're going to circle all the words that begin with W, and there's a lot of them. So our w for woman, and we're going to go ahead and tell you what, now I guess we'll circle the whole word. Take your, and you can use your colored pencil for this to circle the whole word for woman, because it is our W. We have a lot. We see woman all the way throughout this poem, several times. And then we have whither also. So whither begins with W and woman. So that is going to be a lot. Come over to this side, and what do you know? There are none, no W's. So we'll go ahead and count. How many W's did we find? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're all on the first page. So come down here and write the number 8. And then we're going to put our pencil away and go ahead and get our yellow highlighter, and we're going to highlight our sight words. Okay, and we are looking for all of our sight words that we know we have said. That was back in Unit 7. And, not too many. We have 2, which was our sight word in Unit 9. The again, and we'll go and do I for aisle. And let's see. And then and right here. Actually, it was highlighted earlier. Okay. And that should do it. Not too many. Go ahead and get your pencil, and we'll practice writing those down here. Hopefully I didn't miss any. Why don't we count? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's it. So down here we'll just put 7, not 7 saids, but 7 highlighted, 7 sight words. And then we'll go ahead and write them down here. So said, to, the, and, I for aisle, and then, oh, and we already have. So that is it. We are done, boys and girls, except for the picture. So if you would like to draw maybe something that you see over here, you can draw a hot air balloon. If you would like, draw a hot air balloon here, and you could put a picture of you in the hot air balloon if you would like. Okay? And that concludes our shared reading for today for Wednesday, April 29th. So I hope you enjoyed learning about the old woman that is up in the balloon, up in the basket, sweeping the spider webs and the cobwebs from up in the sky. It's a very silly, silly poem, but it's a lot of fun too. I hope you had fun with that, and I will see you next time. Take care, boys and girls. Bye-bye.